Spend it recklessly. Buffett trains himself to imagine every 1 Brazilian real as 10 Brazilian reals in 10 years. When a watch brand tempts you, multiply the price by 5. Would future you still swipe? That shift turns desire into due diligence. Opportunity cost case study. Imagine Ana earns 6 Brazilian reals 000/month. She contemplates a 30 Brazilian reals 000 wedding loan at 1.8% monthly. Total paid over 5 years, 45 Brazilian reals 800. Invest the same 800 Brazilian reals monthly payment at 10% and she ends with 61 Brazilian reals 000. Delta, 106 Brazilian reals 800, almost 2 years of her salary. Wealth is often the difference between looks rich and acts rich. Section 6. 5-step recovery plan, new material, inventory liabilities. List every expense that doesn't generate cash or increase productive capacity. Rank by cash outflow, from biggest monthly bleed to smallest. Replace or liquidate. Sell the boat, refinance high-interest debt to low-interest, downgrade phone plan. Redirect cash, 50% into emergency fund until 6 months achieved, 30% into broad ETFs, 20% into skill-building courses. Automate and review quarterly, automatic transfers on payday, review goals every 3 months. Implementing these 5 steps turned my negative net worth positive within 18 months and doubled my investable surplus in 3 years. Section 7. Frequently asked pushbacks, new material, question, but I love cars. A. Love them. Great. Rent exotic models for weekends. You'll spend 15% of ownership cost and 0% of downtime stress. Question, education is priceless. A. Correct, but tuition isn't. Price your degree like Buffett prices a stock. Future cash flows minus tuition equals net present value. Negative. Don't enroll. Question, life is short. Enjoy it. A. Enjoyment and indebtedness are not synonyms. Real freedom is opening a credit card bill and seeing 0 due. Section 8. Buffett's checklist for any purchase, new material. Understand it. Can you explain in 1 sentence how it appreciates? Predictable cash flow. Does it spin off money or just consume it? Margin of safety. If the market collapses, will it survive? Management you trust. For funds, that's the expense ratio under 0.2%. Price versus value. Are you paying less than intrinsic value? Apply those 5 questions, and 90% of the liabilities we covered fail at number 2. Final CTA, your move. You've spent about 15 minutes absorbing the brutal truth about fake investments. Information alone changes nothing, action does. So choose one liability you own right now. Maybe that extra credit card, maybe the timeshare invoice, and set a calendar reminder today to cut, sell, or renegotiate it within 7 days. Comment below which one you picked. Public commitment triples follow-through. Hit subscribe if you want weekly strategies that break financial myths and build real wealth. Next episode, how to turn a 1 Brazilian real 000 side hustle into 3 Brazilian reals 000 monthly recurring revenue in under 90 days. See you on the path from broke to free. The high price of smart choices. Let's rip the band-aid off right away. You can clock in on time for 40 years, squirrel away every spare coin, and still retire broke, because you kept pouring money into things that look like investments but behave like black holes. I know, because I've done it. I bought status cars, luxury watches, can't lose, vacation properties, expensive degrees, whole life policies, even lottery tickets disguised as hope. Each one sounded smart at the party and deadly on my bank statement. Then I discovered the writings of Warren Buffett, the king of plain English finance. Buffett doesn't chase glamour. He chases free cash flow, durability, and a margin of safety. So I asked a painful question: what would Warren never buy? The list became my wake-up call. Today you'll get that same list, expanded with fresh data, brutal math, personal stories, and, at the end, a 5-step recovery plan to redirect cash from liabilities to real assets. Buckle up. The last item snags more than 90% of consumers and maybe you. Section I. The Big 3 Depreciators. Number 1. Brand new cars. A status symbol masquerading as an asset. Car commercials promise freedom on an open road, but the only thing that accelerates is depreciation. Drive a new sedan off the lot and it instantly loses 10 to 15%. According to KBB, the average 5-year depreciation in the US runs 52%. In Brazil, due to heavy taxes, it's even steeper for imported models. Why do we still crave them? Dopamine and social signaling. A shiny badge makes us feel competent, even if the loan quietly steals tomorrow's paychecks. The math. Finance 120,000 Brazilian reals over 48 months at 1.3% a month, and you'll pay roughly 140,000 Brazilian reals total for a car you'll sell for under 60 Brazilian reals 000. That spread, almost 80 Brazilian reals 000, could fully fund an emergency fund and a small index fund portfolio. Buffett's angle, the rear-view mirror is always clearer than the windshield. Buy a 3-year-old model that already dropped 40%. Use cash or a sub-24-month loan, pocket the spread and let it earn. Number 2, timeshare and multi-property traps. The vacation that never ends, but the fees do. Picture the sales pitch. Lifetime beachfront condo, guaranteed prime week, only a few thousand up front. What you're not told: annual maintenance fees rising faster than inflation, average 7%, special assessments for elevator repairs, hurricane insurance, or repainting. A resale market so illiquid that owners literally pay legal fees to abandon deeds. A study by the American Resort Development Association found that over 50% of owners try to resell within 5 years. Almost none recover the original price. Instead of buying lifetime access, rent freedom, Airbnb, booking, or local brokers. The savings, invested at 10%, can fund luxury trips every year, without shackles. Number 3, high fashion consumption. Wearing poverty in designer fabric. Luxury brands thrive on scarcity marketing. Limited edition sneakers, season-only handbags, drop culture, it all hacks the fear of missing out. We justify the splurge as quality, but the resale value often falls 40% the moment the tag is clipped. Worse, fancy logos train your brain to equate spending with status, turning saving into self-denial. Buffett famously bought a $31,000 house in 1958 and still lives there. For clothing, he sticks to basic suits and Cherry Coke brand ties. His focus: compounding, not catwalks. Apply the 90-10 wardrobe rule and reroute annual fashion splurges to dividend stocks. In 10 years you'll still look sharp and own part of the company supplying the cotton, not merely the cotton itself. Section 2. The illusions of chance and credit. Number 4, lottery fever. The maths of false hope. A Brazilian's chance of hitting the Mega Sena jackpot? 1 in 50 million. Your odds of being struck by lightning? 1 in 1 million. In other words, you're literally 50 times more likely to fry under a thundercloud than become a lotto multimillionaire. Spending 10 Brazilian reals a week until age 60 equates to 20 Brazilian reals 800. Invested at 8%, real return above inflation, it compounds to roughly 80 Brazilian reals 000, enough to cover a full year of comfortable retirement. Buffett calls lotteries a tax on ignorance. Smart fix: every time you feel like buying a ticket, transfer that money to an index fund and track your personal jackpot. Number 5, credit card minimum payments. Compound interest working against you. Brazil's revolving credit APR can exceed 300%. Minimum payments are a trapdoor. Pay 200 Brazilian reals on a 5 Brazilian reals 000 balance and next month the bill rises. Within 24 months, you owe nearly 19 Brazilian reals 000, even if you never swipe again. That's the dark side of compounding. Switch to debit for daily expenses. Keep one card for emergencies and automated bills, paid in full. Want points? Fine, but if the rewards lure you to spend 1 Brazilian real 000 extra, a 1% cashback equals 10 Brazilian reals, while the excess spend robs your future self of hundreds. Section 3. The education and insurance mirage. Number 6, overpriced degrees with underpriced salaries. In Sao Paulo, a private MBA can cost 80 Brazilian reals 000. Average post-MBA salary? Around $5,700 per month. That means 12 to 15 years to break even, ignoring interest. Meanwhile, a 6-month coding bootcamp at 6 Brazilian reals 000 can place grads in 8 Brazilian reals 000 entry roles. Before enrolling, do what Buffett does before investing. Calculate intrinsic value. Forecast expected salary minus realistic living expenses. If the internal rate of return beats a conservative index fund by at least 3 to 4%, proceed. Otherwise, choose cheaper micro-credentials, certifications, or apprenticeships. Number 7, life insurance mixed with investment, whole life and VGBL turbo. Brokers pitch protection plus savings as the best of both worlds. Hidden inside, management fees, surrender charges, and low-yield bonds disguised as growth. A plain term life policy for 500,000 Brazilian reals coverage might cost 50 Brazilian reals a month. A bundled unit-linked version can hit 400 Brazilian reals. Invest the 350 Brazilian reals difference into ETFs returning 10%, and you'll outrun the bundled policy's cash value by year 5. Buffett buys term insurance on key executives but invests Berkshire's float in high-return assets. Copy that. Separate protection from investment. Section 4. Lifestyle sinkholes. Number 8, luxury toys. Boats, second homes, supercars. Boats. The 2 happiest days are buying and selling. Meanwhile, marina fees, anti-fouling paint, and engine repairs devour our $30, $50,000 a year. Holiday homes. Vacancy 90% of the time, yet property tax, utilities, gardener, and caretaker clock on monthly. Supercars. 100,000 Brazilian reals in depreciation annually plus maintenance bills that dwarf mortgages. Rich people rent liabilities, own assets. If you'll sail fewer than 30 days a year, rent. If you visit the mountains twice per winter, Airbnb. Reinvest the avoided costs. Let the market buy you a yacht when dividends cover full upkeep. Number 9. Annual smartphone upgrades. Silicon Valley hamster wheel flagship phones hit 8 Brazilian reals 000. After 12 months, trade-in value halves. Manufacturers rely on FOMO, pushing minor camera bumps and AI filters. Hold your phone for 4 years instead of 2, and you'll skip 1 upgrade cycle out of every 2. Invest that skipped 6 Brazilian reals 000 cycle cost at 12%. After 3 cycles, 8 years, you'll have $30,000, money that can finance a used car or seed a small e-commerce brand. Usage rule: upgrade only when 1. Repairs exceed 40% of replacement, or 2. Productivity increases at least 20%. Number 10. Lavish weddings on borrowed money. Brazil's average wedding rings in at 40 Brazilian reals 000 and rising. Many couples swipe credit and personal loans, starting marriage with 5-year debt. The flowers wilt, the interest endures. Alternative: micro-wedding of 50 guests, potluck desserts, and a live stream for distant relatives. Total bill under 8 Brazilian reals 000. Invest the 32 Brazilian reals 000 difference at 9% real return and you'll have 77 Brazilian reals 000 by your 5th anniversary. Perfect for a down payment or business launch. Love celebrated, future preserved. Section V. Hidden costs and behavioral triggers. New material. The psychology trap. Why smart people buy dumb assets. Hyperbolic discounting. We overvalue today's pleasure versus tomorrow's pain. Social proof. If peers buy luxury SUVs, buying a used sedan feels poor. Mental accounting. Lottery money feels separate, so we